Hello and welcome to this second video in the Lockdown Learning series where we're looking at automation. So in the previous video you saw how to create automation data by using the write mode on an instrument or on the mixer, etc., and then controlling by clicking and dragging the control in question. The results of that are seen on screen here. So we can see we've got 3 automation tracks. So we've got volume, which was the last one that I did, retrolog filter cutoff, and retrolog resonance here. So you can see a representation of what was done here. So now we're going to look at how you can edit the information that you created. So when Cubase is recording your automation information, while it looks at every change that you make, it actually thins this out into just some points and straight lines between them. So here you can see that this volume fade was pretty linear and it faded down. Here you can see that the filter cutoff, although it's this peak, it can be reduced to a few points. This means you can edit it fairly easy, because if you had hundreds of points here, you'd have to edit each one if we wanted to change this. So let's say we wanted to change this volume here. We can just grab one of these points here. So you just click on the square and then you can move it around. As you can see at the moment, I've got snap turned on, so it's snapping to bars. If we turn snap off, I can put it wherever I want time-wise. And vertically, I can drag it up and down to wherever I want to get the curve that I want. So if I wanted this to fade out, I can just do that. And now as we play this, I'll just play the end bit. You can hear this fade out as it fades down to nothing. You may have noticed as well that there's a circle that appears when you hover between 2 squares, and this allows you to create curves. So if you click and drag on that, you can create a curve either way. So you can make things fade out. Now, this is useful partly because the way that our ears represent volumes and frequencies and so on is often much better represented using a curve for complicated reasons. So in many cases, a curve will sound more natural, and sometimes we want things to fade out really quickly at the end. So you might want it to go like this and then drop off like a stone. And rather than having to create loads of straight lines, you can just do it with a curve now. You can select multiple points here, and then you can use these handles. These are actually covered in another video on the channel, which I'm going to link to, but you can scale things and do effectively a fade in and a fade out, and also scale them around the center, etc. So that's a little more advanced, but have a bit of a play with those and you may find that useful. You can also delete any parts you don't want. So let's say we didn't want this momentary thing where I chickened out on the filter cutoff. So you can just click that, hit delete on your keyboard, and you see that point goes. And then it just fills in the gap between them, and then we get this much nicer curve here. Now there's one more thing I want to bring your attention to, which is if you duplicate a part, we can see here where I've duplicated that part using Control D or Command D on a Mac, that the automation has gone with it. Now you may not want that. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But if we go to the Edit menu, you can see automation follows events. If I turn that off, I'm going to undo my duplication. If I now duplicate this, you see that it's been copied without the automation. If you're building up an arrangement like we saw in the arrangements video, sometimes you won't want this automation to follow it because maybe you want it to fade out over a longer period. So sometimes you want to have that on, sometimes you want to have that turned off. But it's nice and easy to get to. And that just changes the behavior. I often find when I'm editing in a session, I'll flick between one and the other, depending on what I'm doing, because sometimes you want the automation to go with it because you've got a nice effect with it. Other times it's part of a bigger picture, and then you don't want the automation to change what's happening already on that track. So that's a quick look at how to edit automation data. In the final video in this trio, we're going to look at how you can create it using the mouse. So I hope you find that useful, and we'll see you again soon.